I was about to spar. Before I was about to spar Tank, he was sparring this big boy.
A heavyweight.
Heavyweight boy. And Tank hit that nigga. He hit him so hard that he was on the top of the rope just like this.
To keep the speed, Gervonta Tank Davis, if he put on the right weight, put the right weight on, and have the lean muscle right, he can look fantastic somewhere in the mid-150s, dare I say, close to 160 against Jake Paul.
In surprising unseen footage, Gervonta Davis was seen dropping a heavyweight sparring partner while training for his fight with Jake Paul. The clip shows Tank's trademark power and perfect timing as he lands a hard left hand that ends the session right away. Fans say it's proof that Davis's speed and accuracy are still unmatched, even against fighters much bigger than him. Showbiz The Adult predicts that Gervonta Davis will weigh around 154 pounds for his fight with Jake Paul, denying claims that Tank will be too small. He said Davis has been that heavy before, so it won't be new for him. Showbiz even mentioned that Tank has trained at 160 pounds, so the weight jump isn't as big as people think. He added that Davis has spent years sparring with bigger fighters, improving his timing, reflexes, and counterpunching against powerful opponents. That experience, mixed with his explosive power and fight IQ, gives him the edge. Confidently, Showbiz said Jake Paul's size won't help him once Tank lands clean, and boldly predicted a knockout win for Davis.
150s, dare I say, close to 160 against Jake Paul. And dare I say it, I think that's the right thing for him to do. Why? I've been saying this. Number one, fighters need to start fighting closer to their walk-around weight. They're just healthier that way. They're just better and healthier that way. I mean, I know it's probably surprising them too. Like, that was the best I've seen Terrence Bud Crawford. Lamont Roach, he's fighting Pitbull at 140, coming from 130 and a pit stop at 135. You have Shakur Stevenson talking about fighting Teofimo Lopez. They're very close to making that fight at 140. And I think all of them would look their best there, especially Roach, where he ain't knocking nobody out down there at 130. But I bet you he'll be swatting far more at 140. Gervonta Tank Davis, I think, just like the others, fighting closer to your walk-around weight is just going to be one of the better performances for Gervonta Tank Davis. He's going to learn a lot about his body. He's going to learn a lot about himself and where he should campaign moving forward. Maybe even meeting Roach in that rematch at 140 himself. Also, another reason why I think it behooves him to come in knocking at 160 pounds is because of Jake Paul. It's not like Tank is going to dodge every punch Jake Paul throws, all right? Some of those going to land, and more than likely it's going to land on his guard. Tank is going to have his guard up. We need for him to be solid enough, his foundation and his base.
Tank has been sparring with much bigger fighters to prepare for Jake Paul, but that's nothing new for him. Since early in his career, Davis has trained with heavier opponents to sharpen his timing and precision. Thanks to his great power and high fight IQ, facing larger fighters has never been a problem. In his latest training clips, Gervonta Davis looks sharper, leaner, and more focused than ever. Every punch he throws shows both power and accuracy, the result of years of discipline. His footwork is quick, but strong, and his movements look perfectly in control. Viewers notice the focus in his eyes and how his speed blends smoothly with his power. The footage alone shows how serious Davis is about this fight. Experts say he looks better than he has in years, calling him ready for battle. The way Tank mixes power, timing, and ring control has reminded everyone why he's still one of the most dangerous fighters today. one of the biggest debates before this fight is the weight gap. Some think Jake Paul's size gives him an edge, while others believe Tank's skill will cancel it out. Fans question if the difference will hurt Davis, but those who know his career say he's always fought bigger men. Supporters argue boxing isn't about weight, it's about timing, focus, and skill. Tank's defense and counter-punching make him tough to hit no matter the size of his opponent. His team believes his experience with pressure and movement will help him use Jake's size against him. For Davis, this fight is not about showing strength, it's about proving skill.
It is happening. WBA lightweight champion Gervonta Davis, who's unbeaten in 31 professional contests, takes on the self-proclaimed problem child, Jake Paul, one of the most influential and marketable global personalities. Paul and Davis square off in Miami after doubts around the fight being sanctioned in Georgia triggered a change in venue. Neither fighter can weigh more than 195 pounds. The weight is perhaps the most surprising factor. Paul has boxed most of his career around 200 pounds, the cruiserweight limit, but did tip the scales at 227 pounds when he faced off against Iron Mike Tyson last year. Davis, much smaller in stature, competes at the 135 pound mark and has also won world honours at super featherweight.
And despite some discussions about possibly dropping down to 10 ounces, the pair seem set to wear 12-ounce gloves.
And in terms of distance, despite the exhibition tag, the fight will play out over 10 3-minute rounds with 3 scoring judges at ringside, but the result will not be officially recorded on their professional records.
Lamont Roach has been open about his issues with Davis, making comments that sound personal. Analysts sense some jealousy in his tone, saying Roach's frustration might come from Tank's fame and success. The two once had mutual respect, but Roach now sounds bitter as Davis keeps dominating headlines and earning massive paydays. Experts say when money and fame come in, rivalries often turn emotional. But Davis doesn't seem bothered. He stays silent and focused, letting his work in the gym speak for itself.
Rip, the question is direct. Reportedly, Tank's going to make $40 million around there to fight Jake Paul. Would you do the same thing if you were in the situation? And he's like, actually, this is what I explained before. You're beating around the bush. It's really a yes or no. I would do it. I would take the 40 mil, or I wouldn't take the 40 mil. But let's listen to this long, drawn-out explanation.
There's about $40 million that he's going to get paid. If you were in his shoes, wouldn't you do the same thing?
See, now, this is something that I explain and express, and I hope everybody gets. That opportunity is an opportunity that you probably cannot pass up. But it's about how you handle it. It's about how you go about it. A lot of people don't know that he actually exercised his rights to the rematch, so that contractually binds us to a fight. You cannot breach that unless you do what you have to do to handle the business, to be like, okay, well, we mutually agree to let you move on and or swindle around and fight Jake Paul for this money. If you think I'm going to sit back by the wayside and sit there and be like, well, even though I'm contracted to fight this guy for this amount of money on this certain day, I'm just going to sit here and be cool with, oh, he might not ever fight me, and he's going to go fight and get paid and get this money, and I'm not supposed to get anything?
Boxing experts often say Gervonta Davis doesn't get enough credit for what he's done. They point out that many of his opponents become famous after fighting him, proof of his star power in the sport. Fighters who were unknown before facing him end up recognized worldwide. This shows how big Tank's influence really is. Critics who say he hasn't faced top competition forget that his presence alone can make a fighter's career. Analysts believe his victories prove he's more than a knockout artist. He's a superstar who carries the spotlight of boxing wherever he goes.
Ongoing discussion in the boxing world about Gervonta Davis and Gervonta Davis, his resume, who he's going to fight, the competitors that he's going to fight. And every once in a while, something happens that proves that Gervonta Davis is the face of that. If he's not the face of boxing because people just don't want him to be that, man, he is real close to it, because other than Canelo Alvarez, and even consider Canelo Alvarez included. Nobody in boxing has divisions circulating around him like Gervonta Davis does. And that was proved during this Lamont Roach versus Pitbull Cruz announcement for their pay-per-view. Just think about this. Gervonta Davis, they always say that Gervonta Davis has a poor resume, but yet Gervonta Davis, guys that fight Gervonta Davis, lose to Gervonta Davis, or get a draw to Gervonta Davis, can fight one another and make an anticipated pay-per-view between the two of them, because that fight with Pitbull Cruz is a very, very popular fighter with Mexican fight fans. Lamont Roach got a lot of name exposure with black fight fans and Mexican fight fans and white fight fans, all with his draw that he got against Gervonta Davis. Now they believe that this is going to be able to be a profitable endeavor for a pay-per-view. Now, let me also tell you that Rolly Romero, who was somebody else that Gervonta Davis fought in the past, will be on a pay-per-view that's going to be successful, most likely, when he defends his WBC.
Stephen Fulton defended Davis against claims that he fights only for money. Fulton said every boxer deserves to secure their future after risking their body for years. He reminded fans that Tank has already achieved greatness with titles and memorable fights. So, choosing big money matchups now is fair. According to Fulton, boxers must balance legacy with financial safety because their careers can end any time. His comments reminded people that Tank has earned the right to make smart choices for himself. Hearing this from a respected boxer like Fulton showed that Davis's moves come from experience, not greed.
Anybody in that position would have taken that fight, especially with the payout. It's like, that's a no-brainer, but I understand. I still feel for Lamont. That's my boy. Like, he still want his rematch. But then when you be realistic about the money situation, you're changing your whole family life. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's people hate on it because they're not in that position. I'm not saying Lamont. I'm speaking like other boxers. Be like, oh, he this for that. He's this. It's a side quest. It's a little side quest. Because what happened when Floyd and all these guys went on WWE, but then they get right back to what they're doing? You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, it's another little side quest. I'm all for people just getting their money, so get the best, make the most that you can out of this entertainment world. Because, I mean, I don't know. I would have done it as far as the money aspect, because none of us would deny that money. They talking like they would. None of them would deny that money.
Luke Thomas shared a different point of view. While he praised Davis's power and technique, he said something feels different this time. In interviews, Tank didn't show his usual fire before a big fight. Thomas noticed he seemed calm, maybe even a calm, like this fight doesn't excite him much. He believes Davis might see the event more as business than competition. Thomas also suggested that the hype around Jake Paul, not the fight itself, may be what caught Tank's attention. Still, he admitted that even if Davis isn't fully motivated, his skills and experience make him a dangerous opponent for anyone.
So in that sense, it's a little bit different. It's not different in the sense of a boxer in his prime or relative prime straying off the path, but this one is not. It's not like someone else, in a similar weight. It's like completely the opposite, and so that makes it, I think, look and feel weird. And then on top of it, obviously, Gervonta's got other business to handle. He looked to me, Gervonta, absolutely, completely disinterested. Even at the beginning of this year, and dude, even at the pre-fight Lamont Roach stuff, Tank was talking about how much time he has left in boxing, and he was sort of wasn't much. I mean, the Lamont Roach fight, I mean, it blew up in his face, but Lamont Roach was cherry-picked. I think Tank thought, oh, I'll just fight another guy from, the mid-Atlantic area who's, remember Roach came up from 30 to 35 to fight him, and Tank thought he was just going to cruise, and then it blew up in his face, and, you're left with that. So, you're making a point about oh, he's got this obligation. That's true, but he was already fucking around. He was already taking opponents that, again, I think Roach showed everyone that was a mistake, but put yourself in Tank's mind. Tank was taking a fight against someone he was clearly, in his mind anyway, better than, and was just going to cruise. So he was already in that state. Then you marry that with statements like, I don't know how much longer I'm going to be doing this, and blah, blah, blah. And, I'm worried about going to therapy because it'll take away my competitive edge. And
some fans see this fight as a money event. But others believe it's personal for Gervonta Davis. He's not just fighting for fame. He's fighting to show that real boxers can dominate any stage, including social media. A win here would strengthen his legacy and prove that skill and discipline still matter more than online popularity. Davis knows both hardcore boxing fans and casual Jake Paul supporters will be watching. For him, this is a chance to bring attention back to true boxing. If he wins clearly, it will send a strong message that real talent always beats hype.
Davis in this particular in the press conference, and you can just look at him and tell, like, no, this dude he's gonna get this money for sure, because there's so much money out there to be had. But Jake Paul better be not playing around, man. Not get cute, not play any games. Don't hit him in the back of the head. Don't rabbit punch him. Don't do any of that stuff, man, because Mike Tyson. First of all, Mike Tyson, a lot of people think Mike Tyson was pulling punches on Jake Paul, and a lot of people think that Anderson Silva was pulling punches on him too. You're not going to have a little Gervonta out there pulling punches on you, man, if you're out there playing games. So, I don't like the fight at all. However, as far as it being an entertaining situation, I almost guarantee you that fight itself is going to be entertaining. That it's going to be something that you look at and you're going to say, man, everybody's going to watch it. Everybody's going to want to know what happens in it. But at the same time, it's kind of like what people think, when you see a car crash, like you're driving down the road and all of a sudden the traffic gets heavy and you're like, man, I'm going to be in traffic for a long time. And then you drive forward a little bit and then you see, oh man, this is some accident on the other side of the road and everybody just slowing down to watch. That's the type of entertainment that you can expect from this fight between Gervonta Davis and Jake Paul. There's going to be a lot of people watching it, but I got to say, man, you really can't blame the guy on what he's doing. And there's a lot of criticism flying on Gervonta Davis. It's not Gervonta Davis's fault that boxing took this turn.
Charleston White didn't hold back when speaking about Jake Paul. He said Jake's boxing career is more about entertainment than real sport. According to him, once Jake steps in with Gervonta Davis, the gap between an experienced champion and an influencer will be obvious. White said Tank's timing, reflexes, and experience against top fighters will expose Jake's lack of real boxing skill. He believes fame can bring attention, but can't replace experience. True champions, he said, are made through real competition, not social media fame. His bold opinion reflects what many boxing fans already think. Davis is on a level Jake has never reached.
Davis and Jake Paul fight. And what he said was, look, man, do not pick against Jake Paul, because he didn't believe that any of the fights that Jake Paul have had to date really have been a real thing. And that the boxing world is looking for that great WHITE hype. And Jake Paul is going to be that guy, even though he really can't do it in a real boxing match. So he was basically reflecting and saying that the saying where they say, believe a half of what you hear, half of what you see, and none of what you hear. He adjusted it to say, don't believe anything you hear and anything you say, anything that you hear and anything that you see. And honestly, man, when it comes to internet boxing, YouTube boxing, and what people say is going on in the media, without a doubt, I think Charleston White is 100% right about that. Don't believe anything you hear. Don't believe anything you see. Wait to see how things play out, and ultimately everything will come out in the wash. Well, going into this fight with Gervonta Davis, I had my concerns about the fight because of the same type of reasoning that Charleston White used, except for mine is slightly different. I don't think that either one of these guys are going to try to do too much damage to each other. Number one, because if it's scripted, which more than likely to an extent it will be, Gervonta Davis is not going to put himself in a situation where Jake Paul is going to actually be able to hurt him.